Welcome back to On the Nose, a podcast where myself and Thad Taylor look back on the comings and goings, money-wise, of the major domestic thoroughbred meetings from the weekend. Well, from Saturday, to be fair.
For Saturday, we just have a look at the numbers, how customers fared against the TAB, what races we won on, what we lost on, and what were some of the significant moves we should note down going forward.
Right, well, let's get straight into it, and we'll start with an easy one, Otaki.
This won't take too long.
No, take us through it.
One race, Fashion Savvy was the winner of the first. It's a winning result for the TAB. It actually shortened, though. I'm just seeing a bit of momentum for the Stephen and Kevin Gray stable at the moment in the CD in terms of market movers. And one of the major market movers on the day was also Discovery Bay. It was in the rating 75 there, 1,400 metres. It was a little bit later on in the card. It was $23 to $7. Obviously, Fashion Savvy won the first. That looks a talented mare potentially going forward over staying trips. That was 10 into 6, back to 7 or 8, but a mover nonetheless. And then a couple of other movers to note just for going forward. I'm a Brazen One looking to go back-to-back. Was step into open handicaps, but went 14 into 480 for I'm a Brazen One. So we're watching out where that lines up next time because the money was certainly on. Hopefully odd setters or bookies might miss that move. We won't. We're at I'm a Brazen One and Lanara in the last. Coming off a last start 0 in the form line, but the win 2 starts ago was very good for Sean Fannin, Hazel Chauffeur, 10 into $6 around Lanara. So there are a couple to note. I'm Brazen One, Discovery Bay and Lanara. Next time they line up, the money was on.
So although we didn't get a lot of action from Otaki, there's a couple of market movers there for punters to keep an eye on next start. And hopefully the bookies didn't notice too much. And we...
Yes.
And when I say we the punters, we might be able to find a wee bit of value.
Yeah, exactly. I would be shocked. I mean, obviously they're in the right races, but these money movements, these big shorteners in races like this are always worth noting down going forward because if they fall into the right race again, if we strike early, we're potentially in very, very good shape. So I'm a Brazen One, Discovery Bay. Watch out for the Greys. I'm just seeing a sense of the CD. There's been some good money for a number of their runners very recently, and they're going well, and Lanara was the other one. So they're the 3 to note down.
Let's move on to the big meeting on Saturday. That was up at Ellerslie Fair. Of course, sort of not so much a dress rehearsal for 2 weeks' time, but there's certainly a number of runners going around last Saturday that you'll be wanting to have a look at in 2 weeks' time on NZB. Is it NZB Kiwi? It's Champions Day. NZB Kiwi, of course, the first running of the big slot race, the $3.5 million slot race. But let's start with race 1 last Saturday. It was for the juveniles. Awesome. And Tony Pike and Lucy in the Sky.
Yeah, first starter for Lucy in the Sky, 320 into 235, so a really solid move. Again, that happened quite early, and this is a bit of a theme on the nose. We want to mark down those early movers, particularly on a first starter in a 2-year-old race. That can be very calculated money. And then what we tend to see is the first starters get a little bit soft closer to the start as the marketplace starts to gravitate towards race day form. We had good money for Tajana. It was $3.20 out to $5. It was a losing result for the TAB Tajana, minus 55,000, but they interviewed Sean Ritchie prior to the first, and look, speed maps are also so crucial, particularly at Ellerslie. I see around 50% of the winners have been in the first 4 at the 600-metre mark.
On or around the speed.
Yeah, on or around the speed. So that's a pretty marked stat, and the marketplace is taking that into account where potentially the odd setters aren't. And Tajana was going to get back. Sean Ritchie alluded as much, and for that reason drifted to $5. But yeah, as I say, it's great that the Auckland Racing Club, a thoroughbred racing club, have those statistics. They also put out sectionals as well, so they're doing a great job helping the customers with all the betting information they need. But Lucy in the Sky, 320 to 235, was a small win because of the money for Tajana, but it was a well-backed favourite to debut with a win. And onto a Sistema and potentially a size produce as well for Lucy in the Sky.
You mentioned the data that you can get from whereabouts, if you're a novice punter, whereabouts do you go to get that sort of information?
Yeah, I believe that's all on the Auckland Thoroughbred Racing website. So you can access that stuff through their website. I saw the Pukekohe numbers were out. I had checked those out. I follow them on Twitter and often can link through via that way. But you get to the Auckland Thoroughbred Racing website and that information is there. And they're the best in the business in New Zealand as far as that's concerned, no doubt.
Race 2, and we've got a sprint over an open handicap sprint, and Tomodachi, who was very well backed, shall we say?
Yeah, very well backed. And again, there's potentially a bit of a theme where the marketplace speaks early and then customers either agree or disagree with the assessment, and they disagreed to a degree here. Glamour Tycoon opened $3.30, went into $1.90. Tomodachi opened $1.90, went out to $2.70. And that's basically all down to the speed map, I would have thought. Tomodachi was probably going to be last on the outside, but it was a small field and that probably favoured it, and Glamour Tycoon was going to be up or near the lead. Certainly trail no worse. So the initial move was for Glamour Tycoon, but then our customers like Tomodachi. They like what they saw last time. She was taken at $2.70. She started at $2.20 and actually started favourite. So the marketplace swung back. It was minus 40,000 for Tomodachi, but they dominated the marketplace, did Tomodachi and Glamour Tycoon.
Race 3, and we've got a roughie getting up. Oof. So I'm guessing that was a nice result for the bookies.
Yeah, it was. Please, sir. Ken Harrison, 18 out to $31. So it was a funny old race in terms of the result. I mean, I think the first four wasn't struck. The trifecta paid about 10 grand, and there's some number of roughies there. I can tell you Trans Z was 23 into $9 for Johnny Wheeler. That was minus 65,000. Grey Area, who was on a derby preparation and was well backed in the race. It was 11 into 6, just back out to 8 late, but that was minus 40,000. And Our Time was also minus 30,000. It was hovering around $5 all day. The one they did back at odds here was Autumn Legacy. It was 31 into 19, managed to run second, and only just second. Thought it had it on the line for a second. So they nearly found it with Autumn Legacy, but funny race. Please, sir, 18 out to 31, plus 35. Trans Z and Grey Area were the two shorteners in the race.
Next race, and I'm guessing Punter's got a wee bit back here, Penman, who was very, very, very popular, and, of course, we'll be looking towards Penman in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we might have a chat about the Kiwi after the Uncle Remus, Paulie, but did odds setters or bookies miss a trick here? Just a little bit of lazy running, as we used to say, with Penman and the Uncle Remus, and in this race here. $5 we opened up on Penman. Wasn't even favourite. We had Tanganyika favourite. Boy, a close favourite. 5 into 280, and had every reason to get beat and still won. And it was minus 50,000. Overdrawn, who ran second in the race. Tony Pike had 2 in the race. Overdrawn was potentially the second stringer, but that was where the money was. 16 into 11. I did get back out to 14 late with all that money, that swamp of money for Penman, but there was interest in Overdrawn, particularly early, 16 into 11. That ran second, so they got it pretty much bang on here, did customers. Tanganyika, no friends, 460 out to 650, and everything else was just blowing out the door because of the money for Penman, and he moves onwards and upwards towards the Kiwi.
Okay, the Avondale Guineas and a couple of expat Kiwis, Trent Busserton and Natalie Young, come back over. Look, the Doctor of Love, did come in.
Did.
Had an SP in the double figures.
Did.
So was it a good or a bad result for bookies?
It was a good result. It was a good result.
Because of the dominant favourite?
Because of couple of reasons. One, because of the dominant favourite, and Willie Do It, who will not be mentioned. It's a bit unfortunate, the whole thing around Willie Do It, who was $1.08 into $1.45. So 2 reasons here. Yes, a lot of money for the favourite, but the Australian influence in the marketplace as well, we're seeing with these Aussie runners coming over, that potentially we slightly underrate. The marketplace tidies us up early or corrects our price, and then our customers say, we're not backing an Aussie, we're going to back the Kiwis to beat the Aussies, and then it leaves us in a position on the Australians where they tend to be winners. Even though Doctor of Love was 18 into $11, it was plus 90,000. The Doctor of Love, obviously Willie Do It was $1.80 into $1.45. That was minus 20. Not a terrible result due to the low natural lay price rather than there not being any money for it. There was plenty. Hini Kaha was legless, 480 up to 13 and ran accordingly. So hopefully she's okay with an eye to a derby, but you'd be questioning it on the back of that run, and there was no money at all. We opened second favourite in the race, I think, and closed all the way out at $13, did Hinikaha. Bourbon Proof nearly got there. It was 14 into around 650.
Well backed.
Yeah, it was. It was really well back out to 950 late with the money for Willie Do It. But the early move there around Bourbon Proof needs to be noted, ran well. And there were a couple of roughies they backed here. Kiwi Skyhawk was minus 140,000 for the TAB. That wasn't a bad run, in fairness. Mustang Morgan was minus 150,000. So the Doctor of Love, 18 into 11, was a shortener, and there weren't many in the race. It was only Bourbon Proof, the Doctor of Love, and Willie Do It that the only shorteners in the Guineas.
As you say, we'll have a look at the futures markets after we get through the card at Ellerslie. But
sure.
Avondale Cup time now. And, well, here we go. The Waikato Cup winner, out at 30s.
Yeah.
Trained by Shelley Hale, a very canny trainer as Shelley. Surely this is one we got a wee bit of her money back.
Yeah. I knew you'd say that. And I can tell you we didn't. $30
that. 30.
Yes, 30s. Was 60s. It was 34s out to 61s. There were some weird fluctuations in this race, to be fair, around some of the roughies. And there were all day. And a couple of roughies got out and then came tumbling back in. This was one of them. And this is a horse that's, how'd you say, canny. The Waikato Cup winner, look, on paper, the runs have only been fair the last couple, but as Shelley Hale alluded to, as soon as the horse gets to 2,400 metres, it's a different kettle of fish. It was here. Of course, I made About Time my bet of the day, so it was always going to get run down in the Avondale Cup. People are going to say, oh, you're making it up. You didn't lose on a $60 shot. I can tell you we did. It was about minus 30,000, 40,000 on Blue Sky at night. It was a lot worse than that, I can tell you too, with about an hour to go. And obviously a lot of the money was focused in around the favourites, the likes of About Time, who was 420 into 290. That was minus 80,000. Son of Sun was very well backed, 850 into 550. That was minus 70,000. And speaking of Aussies moving in our markets, interpretation as well, 13. I got all the way into 6, back to $8 late. That was minus 40,000. So, they're back to few here, but Blue Sky at night was a roughie they did get hold of. It was a losing result. So there'll be some people that'll be music to a few people's ears. Maybe George Simon would enjoy to hear that Shelley Hale and the team have got one up over us there on Blue Sky at night. They knew what they were doing. But a little bit disrespected in the marketplace, but connections and people that have backed Blue Sky at night before did make a fair old amount there in the Avondale Cup.
Okay, the Group 1 of the day, the Sport Nation Otaki Māori Wait for Age Classic, and the big boy just does it again. He just loves Ellerslie. Honestly, why would you take him anywhere else?
I don't know why. I suppose you take him to Tirapa and he wins in Group 1 and a Herbie
exactly,
Guide, but
yes.
I know what you're saying. You're 100% correct. He loves the joint. Does El Venciador, or the Big EV as we're now calling him. But anyway, now this is going to be an interesting situation for our viewers here. El Venciador, and we've seen it a few times, but it's been a bit exacerbated by the fact that this is a Group 1 and the turnover was high. But El Venciador, we opened 2.7, and immediately there was what we call calculated, hard, educated money on El Venciador at that price. We were into $2.30 relatively quickly, and it pretty much sat there almost all day and didn't budge. I think it started $2.30, might have started $2.25 right on the button, but $2.70 into $2.30 and didn't move from around Thursday morning to Saturday once the race jumped. And look, and people love orchestral. And she drifted on the back of that move for El Venciador, and all our customers piled in to Orchestra. I can tell you Orchestra was the worst result on the card for the New Zealand TAB. It was minus $270,000 orchestral. She was 350 out to 420, back out to 420, back into 320, and they were literally back to the exclusion of all others, those two. But because we had so much money on orchestral at a price, it actually meant El Venciador was a winning result for the TAB. And that might be, interesting for some people to hear that a favourite that's been 270 into 230 as a winning result for the TAB. And that's generally not often the case. But just with the amount of money for Orchestra in particular, who was a fraction unlucky, was never going to beat the winner, I don't think, over 1,600 metres, was minus 270, and El Venciador was around plus $100,000 just for the amount of money on Orchestra. So the marketplace got it right pretty much because they only backed 2 runners, and those were the 2, and we ended up having a win on the one they didn't want from a marketplace perspective, or from our customers' perspective. It was a winning result. So the big EV a winner. Orchestra would have been a $270,000 loser.
Funny old game when a $30 shot gets home and it's a poor result for the bookies.
Yeah.
And then a well-backed $2.40 shot gets home, and it's a profit for the boys.
Yeah, exactly. When you got those low lay prices as well, and this is what this is good about doing this 20 minutes, Paul, as well, is we can explain that to people and let them know that can be the case as well. So I think there's some interesting stuff there for the viewers of On the Nose and our customers as well. We can not just note the market movers down for next time, but we can also sort of start to understand potentially how these things play out in a bit of a life cycle of the marketplace as well. So, yeah, as you say, you raise a good point. It wouldn't be the case too often, and customers certainly wouldn't think that was the case, but it was on this occasion.
Final race of the day, and it was for the 3-year-olds.
Oh.
And our good friends, Lance O'Sullivan and Andrew Scott, get one home here. Sathito at around the $4.80 mark.
Yeah. Well, it closed at $4.20. It got out to $4.80, and it was a bit soft late as the money came for the stablemate and Hankey Alpha. And we saw the O'Sullivan Scott team, the couple at Te Rapa there as well, where they had Moss and Vader in the race, and the stablemate won. This time Sathito got the job done. This was a funny market right from the start, with a few things. Well, Penman was obviously in this market at one point, but just with some horses trying to qualify for a Kiwi, some running it potentially as a not to not win, but just to ride with the eye to the Kiwi in 2 weeks' time, and you can understand that when you've got $3.5 million up for grabs. But Sathito was 380 into 340, and I think that's on the map. Was always going to race forward, and Checkmate was obviously going to get back, and then it got soft when the money came for 2 runners. Dealt With was one of them, $7 into $4.20. It was minus 100,000 for the TAB, and the market mover was Hankey Alpha, 8 into $4.60. And that's the stablemate of the winner, who went from 380 to 340, back out to 450, and just back into 420 late. So that just started to come back for it late, but it was a bit soft for the money for Hankey Alpha. Checkmate was the no money. There's another stablemate, but you can, from barrier 11, or it might have been 10 at the jump, you can sort of understand why he was always going to get back, and he's going to have to give his rivals a fair old distance. But his run was good. I think with an eye to the Kiwi, they'll be happy with what they saw. So Sathito ended up being a winner of around 40,000, with the money being for Dealt With and Hankey Alpha, and Dealt With was the worst way for the TAB, minus 100,000.
Right, let's stick with the 3-year-olds, and let's have a look at some futures markets, of course, with Champions Day less than 2 weeks away now, Thad. The Doctor of Love has now joined Willie Do It at the top of that futures market in the Trackside New Zealand Derby, both paying $4. That's a big move on the Doctor of Love. I think I had a look at that futures market prior to the races on Saturday, and I think the Doctor of Love was at around $16, and I think was out further than that prior a couple of weeks ago. So
this is tricky.
What can we make? What can we make?
What can we make of it?
Willie Do It has drifted from that. Was Willie Do It around $2.50?
Yeah, it was shorter than that. I think it was $2.
Wow.
Going into Saturday. And look, sometimes you can run guineas races or lead up races to futures markets, and it take you 10 seconds to reprice. And if Willie had come out and won, he would have gone from $2 to $1.60. Everything else would have blown, and we could have moved on with our lives. But I didn't envy the team on Saturday when they crossed the line in the Avondale Guineas. I messaged one of the traders there, who shall remain nameless, and because he wouldn't want me naming him. No, good old Scotty.
Scotty Bill, yeah.
I said, gee, you get your work cut out for you there, because everything was had to move. And the Doctor of Love, as you say, was around 16 into 4. Oceania Dream was double figures. That run was huge, into $5 now. We've seen Tuxedo. Bourbon Proof had to be respected. That was double figures back into $8. And even Kiwi Skyhook was around 21s into 16s. Honey Car has gone the other way. Was second favourite all the way up to $21. And then what do you do with Willie Do It? And that was the big question of the whole futures market. No one really knew. We've ended up, it's not nothing to do with me, but they've ended up kicking for touch, $4 joint favourites. Do you keep him favourite when you've had him at $2 to win the Derby on the back of a race that potentially wasn't run to suit, or do you throw your hands up and say he's not going well enough, and even if he had the right run, he wouldn't have won it? So I don't know the answer, but what I can say is that a derby that looked signed, sealed, and delivered before Saturday.
It's all over the place.
It's completely all over and completely wide open, which is going to make for a very exciting betting race. But the Doctor of Love, will he do it, Stu, there? But everyone loved the run of Oceania Dream from an eye to a derby.
The Auckland Cup, the Barfoot and Thompson Auckland Cup. And it's a fairly wide open affair as well here. We saw Blue Sky at night, of course, get home, and the Avondale Cup is now into, $8 alongside Interpretation, who I think came in and then has drifted back out slightly. And Son of Sun right there in the market as well.
Yeah, his run wasn't too bad, Son of Sun. He got a long way back in the Avondale Cup, so he's still in commission. Yeah, I mean, it's all Tijanus is the favourite, which is a Chris Waller runner who's won its last two in Sydney. So all accounts he's going to be here. And he's the $4.50 favourite. About time. Probably lost no admirers, but now maybe some small question marks over the 2 miles after the 1.5 miles in an Avondale Cup where Blue Sky at night got over the top of About Time. Blue Sky at night. Well, why not? I mean, I think it was around $41 in this futures market. It's now $8. Interpretation's run was good. From an Auckland Cup perspective, there'll be plenty of support for him. Back up for 2 miles at $8. And yeah, again, you couldn't be bet. I say this is just a tricky little market, to be fair, the Auckland Cup now. So Sailor Jack's there. Sassy Lass has been running in the Cup's final returns run was good on the weekend, but as I say, Tijanus, the Chris Waller runner, is the favourite. All our indications are Tijanus will be here. About Time, Blue Sky at night, Interpretation. So if it isn't that Avondale Cup form, maybe it's the Chris Waller runner.
Let's have a look at the 2-year-olds. It's the Steamer Stakes. Return to Conquer, La Dorada at the top of that market. No surprises, Tiako, the Tangerine Army, to the fore once again in another 2-year-old race. Lucy in the Sky, have we seen a move there, now $6?
Well, yeah, we did. Well, we've seen a move, all right. We didn't have it in the market. It's a move because it's a pre-nom. There's no nominations for this for this 2-year-old race. There are nominations for the size produce. Obviously, if the horse doesn't nom in a pre-noms book, you do get a refund. So we obviously put Lucy straight in after her performance there on Saturday to third favourite. So we won't have to spend too long on this. We put Lucy in at $6. Obviously, Tiako hold the whip hand as usual in a 2-year-old Group 1. But yeah, Lucy's performance good enough to put her straight in at $6.
Can we have a look at the thoroughbred breeders?
Thoroughbred breeders? What are you just going down the list here?
Well, have you got any numbers for it? If not, we can. We don't have to linger.
No, I mean, there's not too much to speak of there. I mean, Legato's $1.40. Conasana was good the other day on Saturday.
Did look good.
Yeah, but Legato's to lose. I see Tomodachi there at $12. It'd be nice to see her step to Group 1 company, and she certainly looks like she has the ability. But yeah, Legato $1.40, Conasana second favourite.
How about the Bone Crusher then? And the big EV is at the top of the market at $2.20. Orchestral, who was, once she got out on Saturday, I thought she finished off fairly nicely on the second line of betting at $3, and that other wonderful mare, La Creek, at $6.
Yeah, probably don't have to spend two. They were joint favourites, so I'll say that. They were $2.80 the pair before Saturday. El Vencedor and Orchestral. El Vencedor was $2.20. Kestrel fans will be telling themselves the step to 2,000 is going to suit her. It'll bring her closer to El Vencedor than potentially a mile, even though they both perform very well over 2,000 metres. So El Vencedor cements himself as favourite. Why shouldn't he be on what he's been doing, particularly Ellerslie? Orchestral was good enough to say, if you're an Orchestral fan, you'd be on in the Bone Crusher and say the 2,000 is going to suit. That's going to be an intriguing battle, and La Creek will run her usual very good race. I don't think she can turn the tables on those top two, but how would you ever know with a mare of that quality? But yeah, EV220, Orchestral, $3.
Still a fascinating watch.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Kiwi?
The big one, the NZB Kiwi,
finally.
The $3.5 million Kiwi, the richest 3-year-old race in the Southern Hemisphere. It's our first go at the old slot race at Ellerslie with the NZB Kiwi. And we've got a fairly dominant favourite here, Evaporate, who was super in behind Mr. Brightside in the Futurity last Saturday. Damash Rose, the Cracker Million 3-year-old winner, Checkmate. Perfumist, Bjorn Baker's coming back over with his filly. A Sathita, who we saw just win the Uncle Remus. A Penman, who was dominant. out of his age.
Mm.
Great. So just where do we look here? What's been going on? Pivotal 10, the Southern filly who's coming up now.
Yeah, well, we had Evaporate $4 prior to Saturday. It was still favourite, but yeah, was $4. Big run, sat wide in the futurity and boxed on very well indeed. They'll be very excited with what they saw from Evaporate from a Kiwi perspective. So 4 into 250, which meant everything else has been just on the drift a little bit. And saying that, Safito has been 12 into 8 after that win. Checkmate goes out a couple of points to $6 to $8, but I think that's more around the move in on Evaporate than necessarily Checkmate drifting on the back of that run in the Uncle Remus. Perfumist holds its ground. Penman was out around $18. I think went into around $14 after that race, and the money's continued there into $10 around Penman. And Pivotal 10's been hovering around $10 since she was announced in this marketplace. I see First Dance is snapped up for the Lindsay's, no surprise. For Cambridge Stud, wears their colours there, the Lindsay's slot. So they've announced First Dance in the last day or so. So looks got plenty of talent.
There's only one more, as we talk live on a Tuesday morning, only one more slot to fill.
I think that's right.
Aussie Care?
Yeah, you've got me. But I mean, it's pretty settled now. We're running out of chairs.
It's like
the music.
Well, who's left?
Yeah, exactly. The musical chairs, they're running out of music. If you haven't struck yet, would be fair to say. So that market isn't going to change much. Evaporate $2.50, Damascus $6, Checkmate, Perfumist, Safito, all at $8.
That's it for another week. Do you just want to remind punters once again about those, what was it, 3 runners out of Otaki who, the big market movers, who obviously didn't get their opportunity to race on Saturday, but to look out for next time they do start?
I don't really. Because it's you, I will.
Yeah.
I'm a brazen one. 14 into 480 in an open handicap. Discovery Bay, the Greys, watch the Greys, 23 into $7 for Discovery Bay, and Lanara, Fan and Chauffeur, $10 into $6. They're the 3 big market movers. We obviously didn't get to see them, but the money certainly arrived for those 3 runners at Otaki.
Righty-ho.
Let's get out of here, Paul.
Well, we will, but I just want to mention a promotion that the team have put together for a VIP experience on Champions Day up at Ellerslie. Just head to the promo page on the TAB website or on the app. And all you really have to do is enter the promo code CHAMPIONS. I'll just double check that.
It is Champion.
Is it Champion?
Yep.
And then place a bet.
Yeah, I heard that. I had to get that clarified myself. You just have to enter the code, place a bet, you're in the draw. One bet. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be on racing. It'll be on sport. That will put you in the draw. And if you're the lucky person to get drawn out, we'll give you a VIP experience at Ellerslie on Champions Day with $1,000 bonus cash.
And Paul Mawadi is your host. Is that right?
No, that ain't
Oh, right. Okay.
No, we don't want to turn
we wouldn't do that.
Fair income.
No, very good. That sounds fun.
All righty. Thanks, Thad. Thanks to you guys for watching. And come back next week when we'll have another edition of On the Nose.